I'll play as long as I feel like physically I can compete at the highest level. If I was to have a fairy tale run like at one of the major events, then that might be enough for me. No one talks about the 5 great saves you made, you know, the one mistake you make.
He's part of the goalies union. Andy Murray's part of the goalies union. I knew it, I knew it. Hello everybody, we are back with another world-class interview today, and as we are in Wimbledon, it's fair to say that this guy is a bit of a legend around these parts, and as Amazon always deliver, we're going to be picking him up, taking him to dinner to meet his friends and having a nice chit-chat along the way. Here he is. Andy, come on mate. Look at the size of him, he's a beast. Look at him, specimen, 35 years old. Hello mate, you okay?
Yeah, good to see you.
Come on. You are deceptively tall, like you're much taller than what I thought you were going to be.
I know.
Everyone
says that to me, yeah.
You are, you're looking $1 million, 35 years old.
I know, and you're not bad for 39 yourself.
Don't you
so,
got to mention my age, mate. Get out of here.
yeah.
Yeah, looking well, mate. Come on, let's go.
That was like a very professional intro, that. It was like really well done.
Right, we're just about to set off. Andy, please, can you put your seatbelt on?
Sure.
Safety first, and just to let you guys know, we have got a game of bingo that we're going to play. So, if you see any of these things on here, yeah, you're going to tick them off, right?
Okay.
Are we going to talk about it, or are we going to do it silently and see who's got the most at the end?
No, we got to say it when we see it,
All
surely.
right,
Otherwise,
I
there could be a
fancy
bit of cheating going on.
Yeah. Right, Andy, so we're here in Wimbledon today. You must know this place pretty well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time here. I do most of my training here. My brother lives here in Wimbledon, so I see him quite a bit.
What's it like when you try to pop down to the local Tesco's or something like that? You're getting mobbed. Guaranteed Andy Murray's getting mobbed in the local Tesco's.
Nah, not really. No, it's not too bad.
No,
actually.
keep your head down,
it's okay, head down, like, yeah. I don't wear like flashy clothes or anything, just try not to stand out, so it's all good.
Okay, so 35 years old now.
Yeah.
How's the body feeling?
Right now, it actually feels all right. Like, you know, mentally and stuff, I feel good, like I'm still enjoying it, but the physical stuff, like I have to take it almost like week by week just now, because new things crop up when you get a little bit older. I don't know if you've had that, like as you've, you know, when you're in your 20s, it's fine, and you know, you can play, well, I could play week after week with no problems, whereas now, like, there's little niggles and things that crop up, so I need to be a bit careful with that.
What's your recovery like? Do you find it's taken a little bit longer to recover from big sessions, big games?
Yeah, definitely. That for me has probably been in the last few years, the thing I've noticed the most is that, you know, if I have a really long match, I don't wake up the next morning feeling great. It takes, you know, 40 hours before I'm feeling good again, so I need to make sure that I'm on, like, making sure I'm sleeping properly, eating properly, doing all the ice baths and recovery work, which, again, when you're in the 20s, it didn't seem that important to me, whereas now I probably appreciate that a little bit more.
Yeah, 35. How long do you think you got left?
I have no idea. I'll play as long as I feel like physically I can compete at the highest level, and once I can't do that anymore, then, you know, that's when it'll be done for me. But I also want to make sure I finish like on my own terms. I don't want to finish with an injury where I can't compete anymore. Like, I would like to finish when I decide, ideally.
Mate, I think you've got a few years left. You are looking $1 million, mate. Honestly, I saw it when I first saw you today when we picked you up. Didn't I? First thing I said was, mate, you're a tank. Look at you, like lean and mean. Seriously, and you're taller than what I thought you were as well. You're looking $1 million, mate. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I've dropped a little bit of weight last few months. Like,
is that consciously because of the hip injury?
This red card there for me.
Oh, mate, look at this. I ain't even looking at mine. This is.
There we go. I've sort of leaned up a little bit. I've been on my nutrition and making sure like I get myself in good shape, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have left. I want to make sure that I make the most of each of the, you know, the seasons that I have now. So I'm trying to do everything properly.
Okay, so you have played tennis in what I personally think is probably the golden era for tennis. You're talking Nadal, Djokovic, the big boys, Federer, like in their pomp as well.
Yeah.
Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can't really argue with it. I mean, those guys have won, like, between them, I think Federer's won 20 Grand Slams, Nadal's won 21 Grand Slams. Djokovic, I probably get this wrong. I think he's on 19, maybe 20. I'm not sure. I've lost count. Ambulance there for me. And yeah, it's been tough. I mean, but beforehand, the most Grand Slams that anyone had won was 14, and 3 guys in the same era have won, 20 plus. So it's been unbelievably challenging to win the big events during this period, but at the same time, you learn a lot from them and you improve.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that has pushed you to take your tennis to the next level? Because you know that you can't compete unless you are giving it 110%.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've sort of been asked that question a few times, and I feel like I've improved as a player because of them. So maybe if I played in a different era, I maybe wouldn't have become as good a player because I didn't have them to sort of look up to and, I guess aspire to be them or be as good as them. But maybe in another era I might have won more.
Which I think, how many Grand Slams did you win?
3.
I think that the fact that you've managed to win 3, when we're talking about these guys in this era, I think that is something that has to be admired, mate. It's an incredible achievement because them guys are just... I think I had to throw his name in. I think I should have thrown his name in there, shouldn't I? Djokovic, Nadal, Federer and Murray as well. He's up there as well, damn right. So mental health in football at the minute is massive. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely massive. It's everywhere. Everybody's starting to talk about it a lot more than what they used to, which I think is only a good thing and can only help people going forward. What's it like being a tennis player, where it's an individual sport? How do you deal with the pressure and the stresses and all that comes with mental health?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, it's probably something that at times during my career, certainly in like my early to mid 20s, I struggled with quite a lot. I think the reason why I struggle with it is because I think in sport up until recently, that if someone is like emotional or upset about something, it was almost seen as being a weakness. Yeah. So I would then be reluctant to tell my coach, I'm feeling unbelievably nervous today, or I'm feeling, feeling lots of pressure, because from a young age, it was in sport, it was like, don't show any emotion to your opponent, don't show this, because it was seen as being a negative. Whereas now I probably feel a little bit more comfortable talking to my team about it. Like, I think having kids has probably helped me with that, because talking to them, like, I want them to open up to me and tell them, tell me how I'm feeling. I've sort of understood that it's pretty important to be able to do that. And an individual sport it's great in many ways because, the performance and the outcome of the matches is solely dependent on you. But then at the same time, when you lose, it can feel like quite a lonely place as well. So that's one of the challenges, is that you take all that, negativity and responsibility on yourself, and that's where it's tricky. Whereas I guess for footballers, you also have that feeling of you don't want to let your fans down, your manager down, your team down, and for goalkeepers especially, you make an error, that's all anyone talks about. No one talks about the 5 great saves you made, the one mistake you make.
He's part of the goalies union. Andy Murray's part of the goalies union. I knew it.
No, I appreciate how tough that must be, that just one mistake, and it's like, in a tennis match we can make hundreds of mistakes and still win the match, but for a goalkeeper it's one mistake and people talk about it for the next week. How
do you deal with social media? Are you big into your social media? Do you go reading comments and all that kind of stuff?
I dip in and out of it. I don't have the apps on my phone, but I sometimes sign in and do a little bit. I try to spend less time on it than I did when I was younger. Just try and engage it a little bit. Yeah, at times I've read the comments, but what I now don't do is, like, after matches, like if I've lost, I'm not on social media checking to see what people are saying and things, because it's just not helpful. I don't see how that can be a positive, positive thing. So I think good things can come from social media, but I think you got to also be a little bit careful with it as well.
So you've always been basically the pin-up tennis player for British tennis, haven't you? At the minute, we've got a young up-and-coming star, basically, in the making, Emma Raducanu. How do you think she's going to be able to deal with all this sudden new pressure and people recognising all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough. She went from, barely anyone would recognise her on the street to she's one of the biggest sports people, if not the biggest sports person in the country currently. I went through something similar on a smaller scale the first year that I played Wimbledon, and I went from playing in front of literally 15 people in small events where I was ranked 400 in the world, to 3 weeks later playing on centre court at Wimbledon in the third round, and paparazzi following me back to the house that I was staying in, when literally 1 week earlier I could have gone anywhere around Wimbledon and no one would have spoken to me. Yeah. And I don't think you always realise at the time, but your life is changing and nobody can really prepare you for that. To have your face on TV all of the time, on the back pages of newspaper, people giving opinions on, not just your tennis, but what you're like as a person, your personality, maybe how you look, how you dress, all of those things. And it's extremely challenging, and she's obviously had that on a completely different scale to what I experienced. So I can only imagine that, it must be really, really difficult for her. I think, she's unbelievably intelligent, smart. I just, hope that, everyone around her is helping her deal with it as best they can, but it's, not easy at all.
Okay, so we're very close to Wimbledon now, okay? You've obviously got some incredible memories from your playing career, from around here. When you're actually at Wimbledon and the tournament's going, do you stay nearby the stadiums?
I stay at home, so I live about 30 minutes from Wimbledon, so I always stay at home. So that's one of the nice things for me in comparison to most tournaments where we're always, traveling and staying in hotels. So it's great, to get to stay at home. And for me, I do a lot of training at Wimbledon, a lot of practicing at Wimbledon. So during the year, I'll come swing by here and hit lots of balls and practice. So I'm very familiar with the place. But when the tournament's on, driving in there is a very different feeling. The place has changed. There's an atmosphere,
buzz around
a huge buzz, and there's expectation and pressure. And I still feel that every time I come during the tournament. Yeah, and that's it right there. There's centre court.
Oh, there we go. Look at this. It's the first time I've been here,
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's lovely, that, isn't it?
Well, if you ever need some tickets to come along and watch, I'd be more than happy. Hello, how you doing?
Oh, Andy.
Hi.
How are you? All right?
Yeah, good. We're just having a little look round. We're not coming in. Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
I'm gutted he recognised you. I was hoping he'd go, what are you doing? Get out, get out. Okay, so Wimbledon, in my eyes anyway, it is the home of tennis, okay? The worldwide home of tennis, obviously being British, English, I'm going to say that anyway. Traditionally though, tennis is a sport which is kind of, it's observed in a really sort of calm, fashionable way. People are respectful, all that kind of stuff.
Similar to the football.
Yeah,
Right.
just like that. It's just like the football, yeah. But that's what Wimbledon's like anyway. Is there any places you've been around the world where it isn't quite observed in the same fashion?
Yeah, so like the Australian Open and the US Open are very different. Obviously, like you say here, when you're playing the points, the crowd is pretty much in total silence.
Golf course, sorry mate.
Oh, there is a golf course there as well.
Oh, we haven't even got golf course on it.
You're just seeing
There's a
things and
football
saying
pitch.
it. Yeah, just write it down and cross it off.
Sorry, anyway, you were saying Australian Open, US Open.
Yeah, the Australian Open, US Open, it is very different. Like, a lot of people shouting out during the points.
Is that frustrating?
Well, at Wimbledon, if that happens, you would notice it because the crowd is silent. So when someone shouts out, that's distracting. Whereas at the US Open, for example, where there's constant noise all the time, there's a constant buzz, it's less distracting in that atmosphere because there's always noise happening.
A bit of white noise always there,
exactly.
anyway.
Yeah. There's been some talk in tennis recently about fans shouting out, kind of abuse at players during matches, and I've always wondered what that is like, because I've never had that in a tennis match, or I'm sure most people when they're out at work, just having people just hurling abuse and insults at you. What do you just become? Are you used to it? Does it affect you?
Do you know what? I'd say when I was younger, for sure, it would have affected me. It will get in your head a little bit. I played a game recently. We played away at Wolves, and because I used to play for West Brom, I'm like public enemy number one inside that Wolves stadium, right? So, for no joke, for 95 minutes of this football match, I had the worst abuse I've ever found. To the point where, as a 38-year-old goalkeeper, I was standing there thinking, if I'm younger here, I'm going to struggle, because this would really boggle my head. And then I remember the game finishing. I had a bad game, by the way, so it must have got in my head. It must have got in my head. But when the game finished, I remember the next game starting. It would have been a week later, and no matter what anybody said, I had already sort of built a resilience up where I thought, none of this matters, because I've just had the worst of it last week. And I almost think it helped me going forward. But you do hear everything. You hear all the individual chants. You hear the guy giving you dog's abuse about your mum, your sister, you hear absolutely everything. So it's something that's part and parcel of being a footballer. That is certainly something you've got to deal with.
But it feels like it shouldn't be. Like, I see, like, someone going to take a corner kick, and they literally got thousands of people just screaming in the air, screaming in the ear.
I like bottles getting chucked at them and stuff. Can you imagine that in the tennis?
I mean, yeah, well, I can, but I don't know.
People launching their pims and strawberries at the... It's not on.
No, it's not. But yeah, I don't know why at football it is just kind of, like you said, it's sort of part and parcel of being a footballer, but kind of shouldn't really happen.
Yeah, I think the way I sort of quantify it is, I know a lot of those fans are living for the weekend. They're living for that 90 minutes where they can just get all of their frustrations out, and we have to be the punchbag sometimes. But I think, and it's sad to say it, but you sign up knowing that that's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
So recently in football, we've had Jake Daniels, 18 years old, just come out as the first openly gay footballer, I think in something like 30 years' time. Thankfully, the reception to it has been incredible as well.
Yeah.
From everything you see on social media has been absolutely fantastic, and rightly so as well. Do you think we're far from seeing the first openly gay male tennis player?
Yeah, so there's been a number of female tennis players that have come out, but to my knowledge, there hasn't been any male players that have come out whilst they've still been competing and active. And I would hope that in tennis, if that was to happen, that they would be received very well. But even recently, there's been, when that question's been asked, there's been comments from certain players about it that make you think, like, that's disappointing that they're still seeing things that way. But I think, the general public would be very supportive, and I would hope that most of the tennis players would as well.
Yeah, I think big shout out to Jake. Proud of you, mate. Honestly, it takes some doing, isn't it? Somebody that age as well to come out. Top class. What a guy.
Yeah.
Right, so we've got to admit it, we're in the twilight years of our career, right?
Yeah.
Well, I am anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I hope you are, anyway. So, what's next for Andy Murray? Have you got to the stage where you've had to actually start thinking about what you're going to do next?
Yeah, I mean, so a few years ago, before I had the hip operation, I had to contemplate retirement because no one had come back to play.
How close was you to actually pulling the plug?
Well, I told my team in the off season, I think it was in 2018, I told them, like, look, I'm done. I called my wife. I said, I don't want to play anymore. I'm not enjoying this. Like, I was miserable away from the court as well because of the pain. And I was like, look, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I had the hip operation, which took all of my pain away, but I didn't know if I was still going to be able to be competitive, so I had contemplated it and thought about what I was going to do, and sort of had come to terms with that. But now I feel good. you know, and like I said, whilst I'm still competing at the top of the game, I'll keep going. If I was to have a fairy tale run like at one of the major events, then, you know, maybe I'd consider stopping on that, you know, on a high note, to feel like, you know, I've proved that I can play right at the highest level again, and that might be enough for me. But yeah, look, I love the game. I love playing. I'm sure that's the same for you. You know, I've played tennis my whole life. It's been a huge part of me for 30 years, and you know, I want to keep playing as long as I'm enjoying it.
I can tell you, on behalf of a tennis fan and probably the whole country, to be perfectly honest with you, we want to see Andy Murray back in centre court, absolutely smashing it. I'm stood on Murray's mound with a beer or cider or whatever it is in my hand. We're watching and we're all getting on it. It'll be absolutely top class. Right, Andy, we're just pulling up outside the restaurant. Time to see how you got on in road trip bingo.
I got, so it's out of 12, I got 2. I got red car and ambulance. How about you?
You missed the aeroplane and the cow?
Yeah.
You didn't get the cow?
No, I missed the cow.
Hey, I got them all.
Where did you spot that one?
It was just outside Wimbledon, I think.
Interesting.
It's one of the stadiums, I think. It was something. Sorry if we've kept your friends waiting, mate. It was
good.
An absolute pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Top
Thanks
man,
for that. Yeah, I'll see you later.
Yeah, pal. Andy Murray, what a guy, eh? And don't forget, you guys can watch the WTA and ATP Tour, and of course the US Open later in the year, all on Prime Video.